We have a very special treat for you now. We have possibly the youngest, or right amongst the youngest participants we've had for Songs of Praise. And young Acacia is going to come, thank you Acacia, and read you a very lovely little story. Would you please welcome Acacia?
The Woodcutter Story. Once there was an old woodcutter who lived in a small village. He was very poor and had practically no possessions. All he had was a horse, a beautiful stallion. All the people of the village admired the stallion. Even the king had heard about it and offered the poor woodcutter a large sum of money to buy the animal. But the woodcutter refused. He was grateful for the horse and for the joy it brought to his simple life. The people of the village told him he was crazy not to sell the horse. If he sold it, he could live a life of ease and not have to work so hard, going into the forest each day to cut down trees to sell for firewood. But the woodcutter said he was grateful for his work and did not want to sell the horse so that he no longer had to work. One morning, when the woodcutter went to his barn, the beautiful stallion was gone. All the villagers gathered and once again told the man how foolish he had been not to sell it. He hadn't properly guarded his horse, and now someone had probably stolen it. Not only did he not have the money, now he didn't even have the horse. What a foolish woodcutter! But the woodcutter repeated how grateful he was to have had the horse and how he could never have sold it. He thanked God for the joy the horse had been to him and for allowing him to work by selling firewood. 15 days later, the stallion returned. It had not been stolen, it had simply run off into the forest, and when it came back, it brought 12 mares with it. How excited the villagers were! They told the woodcutter how smart he was not to have sold the stallion, since now he could raise more horses and sell them to make money. The woodcutter said he didn't know how smart he was, but he was grateful to God for the return of his stallion, the gift of more horses, and for the opportunity to work in the forest. The woodcutter also had one son who began to train the horses. One afternoon, while he was working with one of the mares, he fell and broke both legs. Again, the villagers came to tell the woodcutter how foolish he was to keep all of the mares and try to train them. Now his only son was lying there with both legs broken. Again, the villagers came to tell the woodcutter how foolish he was to keep all of the mares and try to train them. Now his only son was lying there with both legs broken. Not only could he not help in cutting firewood, he wouldn't be able to train the horses. And who would buy a horse that wasn't trained? The woodcutter repeated that he was grateful for his work, for his beautiful stallion, for the mares, and for his son with the broken legs. A few weeks later, the news reached the village that their kingdom had gone to war. All of the young men in the village were expected to become soldiers and fight for their country. All, that is, except the poor woodcutter's son, who still lay at home with 2 broken legs. The war did not look promising. The enemy was very strong. The people of the village did not expect to see any of their sons again. Once again, the villagers came to see the woodcutter. How lucky he was that his son had 2 broken legs and did not have to go off to war. But the poor old man reminded them that he was simply grateful to God for his stallion, his work, his mares, and his son with the broken legs.
Thank you, Kate. Wasn't that lovely? Now, I first came across this story many years ago, and it's always been in the back of my mind, just to be grateful for the Lord. We can't know if something is good or ill. We don't know what the future will hold. So it's an encouragement just to really be grateful to the Lord for all that we have, to make the most of opportunities and to trust.